Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. I'm delighted you are taking a few moments to join me today. It is August 3rd, and okay, couple of things, just a little bit of housekeeping stuff. So, for those of you who are not Canadian, this is a long weekend here in Canada. So I have decided that tomorrow, which is a Sunday, I will not be releasing a video. I will be back bright and early on Monday, but I'm wanting to take, a little downtime. And secondly, for Canadian viewers who have been asking and who are interested, the elections in Canada are going to be the 20th or the 21st of October. I'm gathering there's some controversy going on with the date. Obviously it's going to be right in that area somewhere. And so I anticipate that my readings on Canadian politics are probably going to start kind of last week of August, first week of September. Because for those who aren't Canadian, don't know, we have 6-week election cycles, not 18-month election cycles. So, which is part of the reason we're probably a happier and friendlier nation, because we're just not made insane by our politicians for such a long period of time. Okay, so enough of that. I have a question. I have been curious about two things. One is this need for Trump to constantly have his name in the press, like to just use up all the oxygen. And it doesn't matter whether it's positive or negative, right or wrong. He just wants his name repeated over and over again. By contrast, Moscow Mitch is having a freaking fit, and it looks good on him, about this little title he's gotten, and people are glumping onto of Moscow Mitch. He's freaking. So it got me curious about kind of like the attention politicians draw to themselves and the impact or the effect that has on the people who not support him, who finance them, the people behind the big money, the dirty money, the dirty dealings. So, short question. How is Trump's race rhetoric and hate rhetoric, how is that actually impacting Putin? I get he likes it right in the media, but I'm wondering long term, what we're seeing. Likewise, same question, how is that impacting Mcconnell? So that's my question, and I'm not quite sure how to formulate my question, so I'm kind of going to just leave it as that ramble. That's my question. I want to know kind of what the impact is on that. So just do a couple more quick little shuffles, and then I want to zero in on this, particularly on Trump and Mitch McConnell. It seems like there might be some interesting answers there. All right, come on down, let's see what we see. Okay. So, Trump, McConnell, attention. Trump, McConnell, attention. Trump, McConnell, attention. Fascinating. Okay. This Emperor card represents behind the scene money. It represents dirty money. It represents the people who are pouring money into campaigns and elections in order to curry favor with politicians, in order to get their agendas addressed. So, the Putins of the world, the oligarchs in, Russia, who are pouring all kinds of money into Kentucky, into McConnell, into Trump, his campaign, the inauguration, the next campaign. That is representing them. Which is kind of an insult to the Emperor card, but hey, it is what it is. So, this is the thing. When politicians become embattled, when they start drawing a lot of attention to themselves, particularly, it's not even negative attention, it is attention of disgust. Attention where people are just appalled by their behavior and the things that come out of their mouth. And as I'm receiving this information, it really does apply to both McConnell and Trump. So what I'm going to say, certainly in this point, applies to both of them almost equally. When that happens, when they start really, really drawing attention to themselves that is not positive, what it does is it creates an environment where people become really interested in digging, and they dig deep and they dig below the surface because they want to understand what is motivating people to say what they say and behave the way they say and draw attention. So the press starts digging, and more information comes out that of course is not positive and does not show these people in their best light. And that creates a problem. I did a reading on Mitch McConnell just the other day. And one of the things I said was, if I remember correctly, was that he slithers. He kind of is quiet. He's unobtrusive. He just slithers along and does his slimy stuff. But he doesn't really, really draw attention to himself in a big splashy way, right? He likes the power and he thrives on his ego being stoked. But he's not really out there trying to get a lot of media attention, because on some level he understands that the more attention that comes towards him, in some ways, the more it puts him and the people that support him in that way kind of at risk, because people get curious and people want to know what's behind it. And Trump, on the other hand, he is of the opinion that he doesn't really care. It can be horrible, it can be whatever. But remember this, when the uproar first started about babies in cages, Trump, the response from the American people, and in fact the world, was pure disgust. People were appalled by what they were seeing and what they were hearing. And as a result of that, Trump backed down. Now, I'm not saying he changed anything. He didn't. But he did sort of issue, he tried to distance himself from the whole thing, because even on some level, he realized that it was too negative. It was going to be dangerous for this kind of negative emotions to continually become pouring at him. Now, I do acknowledge and realize that all he did was he backed away and he went down another venue to do exactly the same thing. But what it did was it took the immediate spotlight off of him. And for people who are busy living their life and doing the day-to-day things and are not watching the news or the political arena really closely, kind of what they got was, oh, he did this, and then he came on TV and he said, other people did it and he wasn't really responsible and he was going to make it stop. And that's kind of, for them, that's kind of the end of it. They, every once in a while some stuff comes up about the border and they kind of go, oh, that's like horrible. But in some way, Trump was able to sort of pull back and remove himself from it. But as Trump continues this racial divisiveness, one of the things that's sort of happening is he's creating an environment where the people who quietly or not so quietly in some cases are supporting him and financing him and you know, pouring the money into him, they're starting to get a wee little bit leery about how much attention he is drawing to himself. Because the attention he's drawing to himself is the kind of attention that makes people want to dig beneath the surface, and that becomes dangerous. So really interesting, the analogy that I'm getting is, and if I get the phraseology or the wording wrong, bear with me, because I am not and have never been part of the mafia or the mob, but it's kind of that same sort of idea or feeling, which is when you do things quietly and you don't draw attention to yourself, you don't draw attention to where people don't want attention drawn. At the point where you are drawing so much attention and, you know, eyeballs start looking at you from every direction, you become a danger to the very people at the top, because they are now in jeopardy of having too much exposed, and as a result, you are now in jeopardy of needing to be quieted. And I'm not suggesting that there are contracts out on either of their heads. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's that same sort of thought process of, at some point, too much attention is just a real negative. And that seems to be part of what's going on here. And make no mistake, between now and the fall of 2020, Putin is going to push hard, and as are a lot of the Russians, are going to push hard to get their agendas, their pet projects, seen to and dealt with. You know, anything that can ease their burdens. The reason they wanted the useful idiot in power in the first place was so he could do their bidding. And between now and the fall of 2020, there's going to be a lot more, sort of a ramp up of things that, where you see blatant examples of, especially with Trump, where he is really, really favoring or taking the Russian side. I mean, certainly the whole, you know, we're prepared to send people to Russia to fight forest fires, which of course he doesn't actually acknowledge are the result of climate change, but, you know, thinks that people in California should vacuum their forests, right? So there's going to be more of this kind of, what can I do for you, oh Master Putin, going on. But at some point, I'm actually starting to think that there's going to be too much of it. And it's actually going to start sending up red flags with the Republican Party. They're saying, you know what, listen, you are dragging us into a place that we can't even figure out how to justify anymore. And you're putting all of us at risk because what you're doing is drawing too much negative attention our way, and you're forcing us to sort of justify or explain what is frankly unexplainable. Okay, it can't be explained. So that's like a really, really interesting insight, because it sort of makes you realize that once again, Trump has the ability to shoot his own self in the foot, right? I mean, he gets caught up in the adulation and the applause at the rallies and with his base. And he fails to understand that there are people around him who have been supporting him by holding their nose, you know, by plugging their nose and supporting him. And there's going to come a point where the attention, the ramping up, all of it is going to start putting them in a place where they really, really have to back away. Now, so we have had 6, I think it is, if I'm correct, representatives in Texas who have already announced this far in advance that they will not be seeking re-election. And you know what? Some of those seats that are being left opened are going to create an environment where the Democrats, or even independents, although I don't know how many there are in Texas, are going to be able to move into position to take some of those seats. Things in Texas are not quite as red as the Republicans would like to think. They are turning purple and blue kind of at a rather quick pace. And so it would not surprise me at all if Texas went blue, or, in the coming election, because there is a point where, enough is enough, and enough people start to say, this needs to stop, okay? So, it seems to me that in some ways, the flow of money is becoming jeopardized, particularly the flow of money to Trump is becoming jeopardized because there comes a point, as I just keep repeating, where it becomes a real negative if there's so much attention being drawn and people start searching where they have not looked or searched before. Justice is coming. Take comfort from the fact that justice is coming. And the greedy people who are doing everything in their power to hang on to their money and keep that money coming, they're going to be in a position where they're actually going to have to be defending themselves as their supporters, even their supporters, turn away. And they're not, and I'm talking about the money supporters here, turn away because the attention they're drawing is not the kind of attention they want. In fact, in some ways, they really don't want any attention. They want their behavior to fly under the radar so it's not picked up, it's not caught. The racial rhetoric that is coming from Trump, the whole, so sad that somebody tried to rob Elijah Cummings' home. As people, the whole Moscow Mitch thing, the whole, attacking anybody of brown skin, of black skin, of color. It's getting to the point now where he's almost attacking anybody who doesn't agree with him. It's like, if you don't like me, you are bait and I will go after you. But as people join together and they start fighting for their truth, what you're going to discover is the disgust factor. That's what it boils down to. It is when people contact their reps and say, I am disgusted. It is when people flood the White House with, I am disgusted, you appall me. That kind of really strong verbal commentary on their behavior, that actually has a impact because it affects the people to whom they get their money from. And it doesn't sit so well with them. It causes a problem. So, the more of that kind of reaction, the more actually of an impact it has. You have to be careful that it doesn't cross the line into hate or violence, because then it becomes, well, they're unstable, they're nuts, why should we listen to them? But when it comes from a place of, you are destroying this country by your disgusting and hurtful, appalling behavior. I keep hearing those words, disgusting, appalling, disgusting, over and over in my head. That seems to be some catchphrases that are going to actually have some impact. And do not do not be surprised if way more Republicans start jumping ship, announcing their retirement, announcing they're going into, some sort of a private endeavor. They're not going to run again. Do not be surprised, because the Republican people who have managed to, bite their tongues and stay quiet, but still have some degree of a moral compass, they're going to have to distance themselves. And that's awesome, because the more they distance themselves, the more opportunities there are, even in red states, for some districts to go blue. And that's what you need, because remember, we're aiming for that blue tsunami. Yeah. They're putting their money, their sourcing of income, their dirty deeds, the secrecy that's supposed to be happening behind the scenes, they're putting all of that at risk of being exposed. And it's not going to end well, okay? And that's going to be ultimately what brings them down. You've got the devil, and death. So this is telling you that level of corruption, that level of being so dangerous to the United States, with all of their side deals with Russia and China and Saudi Arabia, it's going to come to a place where the more they try to quiet things down, the bigger and bigger it's actually going to become, because their own inaction, their own words are going to start sending out red flares. And from the perspective of what people can do, is they can start voicing those words: disgust, appalling, appalling, disgust. There has to be an energetic reason that I am hearing those words over and over. It's not hate. It's not violence. It's that heartfelt, that's just beyond human acceptance. That is actually part of what is going to draw enough attention that these people are going to have to start pulling back, or fear repercussions from the big money that flows to them. They're scared, They're actually running scared. The Mcconnells of the world, and I know the Grahams of the world, and I know the list is long, okay, of all the people who are on the take and who are corrupt. But they're starting to get scared that there's just been too much attention drawn to them. I also want to say that Lindsey Graham's little temper tantrum the other day, in whatever meeting he was in, where he was ramming through the changes to the immigration policy or whatever that was, and he was like, if you think I'm going to forget what you said to me, I'm not, and that rant, I don't know if any of you saw it on television, but it was the equivalent of a child stomping their feet, in front of the candy counter. These kind of behaviors, things that went on behind the scenes are now they're getting leaked. They're becoming public. More and more people are becoming aware of it. And therein lies the danger of light being shed and them not being able to keep it undercover. And that is the goal. So, I hope you have found this insightful. I hope it gives you some clarity about kind of what's going on, almost like on an energetic level and behind the scenes. And it gives you some indications of the words and phraseology that you can actually use to push back in a way that is going to have an impact. I hope. So, thank you so much for finding me, subscribing. Your thumbs up are amazing. Thank you so much. I also want to I have been receiving just some really lovely donations, and that's wonderful. And I'm very grateful and appreciative for that. And again, if you are looking for a private reading, check that little box. And there's some information there about how you can contact me so we can set that up. So for now, take care, be well, and I will see you on Monday. Enjoy the weekend, everyone who is seeing this, and we'll see you real soon now. Bye-bye.